So I last ended. I'm talking about the end of the Vedic era around 500 BCE, and new religions in the region challenging the social structure. Okay, and so a lot of this, I just want to clarify. This is a lot of information, and for those of you who are not familiar with Indian religion, it becomes a little bit overwhelming. I remember when I first taught this class, I feel like this section many found very interesting, but also a little overwhelming because when there's so many things with different terms you've never heard before, it becomes much harder to follow. So do your best, and if anything catches your attention and you want more clarification, again, I'm gonna always be encouraging you to write or call me to if you need to. All right, so Jainism, sometimes it's pronounced Jainism, depending on who. It's sometimes pronounced Jainism, other times Jainism. But it's essentially based on the teachings of a man called Mahavira, the great hero Arjuna, the conqueror who lived during this time in the 6th to 5th century BCE. At age 30, he chose a life of asceticism. That means he was just got rid of all, like he lived a very hard life, kind of sleeping on rocks kind of thing. Um, and he promoted an idea of ahimsa. You'll hear that term with Gandhi later on, but everything is extreme acts of nonviolence. He reportedly, would go about naked with a light broom to not squish any bugs. So we're talking about not only are they vegetarians, they don't believe in killing bugs or anything. And so this is a really focused on not killing anyone or harming anyone. Okay. Now, actually, we're not going to talk much about it, but I just wanted to bring up Jainism because it's going to be significant later on influencing aspects of Indian religion. This religion does exist, by the way. Some of their nuns have masks that they wear that look kind of almost like they're nurses with like the around their mouths. They don't breathe in any bugs and kill it. So yes, but it's not a common religion. It's not a large religion. You don't see all too often. In my entire lifetime, I've never met someone who claimed to be a practitioner of this religion. Although I'm sure I met some, but no one ever talked about it with me. In any case, all right. So more significant to the entire world in terms of spreading of world culture was the founding of Buddhism. Many of you might always gravitate in your mind to think of Buddhism as being in China as Chinese. Well, yes, we will discuss how Buddhism gets to China, but Buddhism comes right out of the heart of Hindu India. Okay, so around the 6th and 5th century BCE, there is a man named Siddhartha Gautama, and he is from the princely military family, the Kshatriya. Remember we talked about the castes earlier. His location would have been in the Himalayan foothills, what is now Nepal. Okay, so the story goes, or one of the stories of him goes, that at 29 he ventured outside of his palace. That as a young prince, he was sheltered from the world outside. So let me just clarify this picture here with him and all these lovely ladies and being treated so nice. He had been basically just living in this palace with nothing but beauty and youth, not seeing agedness or sickness or anything to cause suffering. He ventures out and he sees death, old people, different things out there that just blow his mind away. And so he's discovered to understand the meaning of aging, illness, and death. This really perplexes him. So, and by the way, this is typical, right? You get somebody who grows up in wealth and they get exposed to the real world, and they kind of like just turn their backs on it at times. Well, he ends up practicing extreme self-denial, doing things and this is common. Even in India, there's this guy who goes around and he holds his hand up and he never puts it down. And his hand is actually completely froze there and the muscles are deteriorated. And he basically feels that he'll find enlightenment with the creator by doing this extreme thing to his body. These kind of practices have been common and are common. This didn't work for him. And then he began meditating under what is called the Bodhi tree near the Ganges River. And he experienced, so the story goes, a condition that is called nirvana. This is a Buddhist concept of enlightenment. It's kind of state of infinite tranquility or nothingness. Now, it was from that point that he then becomes called the Buddha and has this path of enlightenment. So let's talk more about this, okay? So what Buddha, there's the four noble truths in Buddhist teachings. He essentially observed that life consists of suffering. No one's going to argue with him on that for the most part, right? And that pain and suffering, he argues, though, are caused essentially by desire. That you always want things and you get it and then you're not happy with it and you want more. And so it's this wanting and this lack of having that creates all of this suffering. So to escape from suffering, the answer is to curb your desire. And your desire can be curbed by righteous living, okay? And how do you do that? He has an eightfold path. This idea of right thinking, right purpose, right conduct, right speech, right livelihood, effort, awareness, and contemplation. So there's these strict set of rules or these ideas about having to get to this path of enlightenment. And the idea is essentially not to desire things, okay? And so that's essentially the kind of core of Buddhist teachings in a nutshell. And then where it does have similarities with Vedic religion is he does have the concept of reincarnation, of dharma, and karma. But in this case, he's not believing in the caste system. So that's removed. And essentially the pantheon of Hindu gods are just, it's not even like they're really rejected as much as they're just neglected, and it just Buddha is not a god, and he does take on a deified role in certain aspects of Buddhism, but everything that I just told you doesn't sound very godlike, and in fact, I've met atheists who consider themselves Buddhists. So there's different ways that Buddhism can be fused into different concepts. It is a religion, but it's not a personal deity that cares about you and is listening to this lecture right now and my thoughts and my behavior. There's not this God who cares. There is a universe that operates in a certain way, and that our actions have certain kind of reactions to them. That the universe is almost like this living thing that will respond to our actions. That's where the dharma comes in, right? And the karma, and how we get placed in reincarnation. But it's not necessarily because a personal creator is making that happen. Okay, a little bit confusing for some. Okay, so Jainism and Buddhism impact on India. That's important. The Vedic religion of India became challenged by these, as we can see, right? And it ends up evolving to what we call Hinduism, okay? Hinduism is an assortment of beliefs and practices. It's probably one of the most complicated religions to explain. And Hinduism is it's not precise as a term in defining a religion in the way that you can with some other religions. It's an assortment of practices and beliefs that come out of India, essentially, okay, and from the Vedic traditions. There's no founder or teacher. It's not an organized religion with a fixed set of rituals and beliefs, and there is a wide array of divinities, doctrines, and devotions. Okay, and so I'll kind of talk about that just a little bit more, and then I'll move on to the next section.